second.
Let me turn this down.
Hey, Scott McGlowan, GM to the Stars. We are live, Field to the Deal podcast. CJ Anderson is out on assignment. And Peter Schaefer shows up right on time like any good agent. He's never late. He's always on time.
That's right.
So I want to talk to you guys about the Broncos and the playoffs. We are going to get to the bowl games and the college playoffs and how awesome that game was last night. But I want to get your guys' initial thoughts here on the Broncos. It's the playoffs. The 7 seed makes the playoffs, but they're 1-7 historically in the playoffs. And the winner was last year with the Green Bay over Dallas. So, like, it's the wet blanket stat for us Bronco fan, but give me some reasons for optimism here for the Broncos going to Buffalo on Sunday, Scott?
Well, the thing about it is, first of all, it's a hell of a year to make the playoffs. That's an honor, big time, especially with a rookie quarterback. Now, going into Buffalo, I've been there, played there, won there.
You played baseball in upstate New York.
I did, but as a 49er, we went in there, and we beat them. It was a hell of a game, but it's a tough place to play. It's a tough place. I mean, it's going to be loud, and they have a lot of tradition there and a lot of history in that stadium, and that coach knows it, the players know it. But for Denver to even have an opportunity to play in the playoffs is huge.
Absolutely. Like you said, rookie quarterback.
Yep.
Peter, give me some reasons to be optimistic about the Broncos going into Buffalo.
Well, I'm going to give you the best one that I've heard. All right.
Okay.
I've got a lot, but I'm going to wait. So you just tweeted, Rob. So I'm supposed to retweet this now?
Yeah, always retweet it out. Let people
right.
when we go live, it sends out a new tweet.
Right. Oh, well, you're saying that we're live now. All right.
So we're live.
All right. So here's the best
don't say
stat.
that you're not supposed to, super agent. Like, let's not get you in trouble.
So here's the best stat that I've gotten, and I got it from my son Gavin, who's a sports management major. So it's got to be true.
Absolutely.
Since 2017, Sean Payton is 30-12 against bald-headed coaches.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go enter my sports betting app right now for that one.
I mean, that's a 7-14 winning percentage.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, I'm saying it's a lock. I'm saying book it. Book it.
Logging in here.
I'm saying book it. Let's go. I mean, how much more of a lock do you need than that?
Right?
What about his record against a quarterback like Josh Allen?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that yet, Scott. All right, so on another sense, I think that when you get to the playoffs, first of all, you got analytics. You throw a lot of analytics out the window, all right? The great players in the NFL, they show up. And the thing that scares me most is what the 2 words Scott just said, Josh Allen, because he's a dude. The rest of their team is good, and they have nice pieces. The offense line is okay. Josh makes it better. The defense is okay. They don't have any, bell cows. But when you have Josh Allen, anything's possible. Then the next thing I always look at is the weather, because the weather in Buffalo is always a factor, and tomorrow it's not a factor.
Correct.
We're playing Sunday.
Sunday.
Okay.
It's going to be fun.
It's 40 degrees. Yeah, no snow, no wind, no rain, no factor.
Okay.
And, I harp back to the early 90s when the Bills won 4 straight AFC championship games. And the reason they won 4 straight AFC championship games is because they played in the AFC East, which then was the worst division in football. Patriots sucked, Jets sucked, Dolphins sucked.
Hey, careful! That was my Dan Marino Dolphins.
No. I'm talking. That was sort of after Dan Marino. This is 91, 92, 93, 94. So because they played in the weak division, they always had the home field advantage in the playoffs. And the AFC Championship game was always in Buffalo, and it was windy and it was cold. And Jim Kelly, he could do one thing really well. He could throw 10 to 15-yard intermediate passes in the wind. And they had a team that was built to play in that wind, and they won 4 straight. And they go to the Super Bowl, play where nice weather, in Pasadena or Miami or whatever, and they got whooped 4 straight years.
They had 3 Hall of Famers on that team, Peter.
Because they played in a bad division.
No, they had more than 3 Hall of Famers. They had Andre Reed.
Just on offense
was Thurman Thomas on that team?
Thurman
Hall
Thomas,
of Famer.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly, yeah.
And then on defense,
that's all on offense. On the other side, you had the big boy, the pass rusher.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, no, right. But part of that came from the fact that they did play in all these.
Peter, what I'm taking away from what you're saying is they should actually go back to the 90s and put the weather in like their equivalent of the Ring of Fame in Buffalo.
Yes.
Well,
it's like the true 12th man.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that was a 12th man back then, but it's not a factor on Sunday.
It's gonna piss off the fans because when we were there, when we won, we had to wait a couple hours for the buses would leave because they all lined up outside with ice balls and try to break the windows on the buses.
Hey, so speaking of of the environment in Buffalo, Scott.
Yeah.
Is Buffalo like an overgrown college game, just like is like compared to like Green Bay is the same way? Is like
correct.
Correct.
It's not a real big stadium. It probably holds 55, maybe 60. And it's not a real big town or anything like that, or little city, whatever you want to call it. But they live and die for Sundays. They live and die for it. I mean, there's nothing else going on. It's like Green Bay. I think I told you guys this already. I know when I was working there on home games, there was more alcohol being consumed than gas
or cheese
on that day.
Cheese.
Well, no, seriously.
My favorite is who came up with that stat to figure that out. Who saw that? It's like, we actually consume more Budweiser than we do unleaded.
I think it's more than Budweiser, but they consume more alcohol than gasoline on Sundays. I know this. It's like incredible. A ghost town. It's like a ghost town. If you're outside the stadium, there's no cars moving. There's no one driving. I mean, it's just, and it's the same thing in Buffalo. Buffalo, they live and die it. And Denver's got great fans too. Don't get me wrong.
But there's just other things to do. There's more people here. So going back to the game and the scaries of the game, because I'm trying to be optimistic here. But then they also have this guy that was a former Bronco on the defensive side for the Bills, who may actually be wearing like a Denver Broncos shirt underneath his uniform. But Von Miller, when he wants to go get the quarterback, it's kind of like he kind of gets him. So how worried about Von Miller?
Not like he did. He's a he's a situational pass rusher. He's a nice player, but he's not a dude anymore. He grew out of being a dude.
Yeah, I agree with Peter. He when he wants to, he's smart enough to understand how the game starts, and situationally when he's in there, he'll feel the tackles. He'll know the leverage. He'll know what they're leaning towards: right leg, right arm, left arm, whatever. How they're going to work it. He's smart enough to figure out how to win 2 or 3 times a game.
Yeah. So if we can keep, and Bo Nix avoids the sacks better more than most, but can we get Josh Allen to the ground? We lead the league in sacks. We've had a lot of sacks. I don't know if they're coverage sacks or our line's great or a mixture of both. But can we is Josh Allen is he going to go down?
Rob, there's the third type of sack. You got coverage sack, you got individual sack, you also have scheme sacks.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of scheme sacks. And I do think that the Bills' offense line is not, it's not the monsters of the Midway. And, right now, I do think they're going to put pressure. They're going to affect the quarterback. The problem is that quarterback sometimes is unaffectable. Is that a word?
It is now.
Of course,
if I use that in Scrabble, my wife says no, you can't use it. I'm like, Peter said it was a word.
Unaffectable.
That's got to be a lot. That's a big scoring word, I bet too.
I'm googling unaffectable.
It's a lot of vowels in there though. But
the thing is, Rob, the thing about Josh is not the fact that people don't realize how big he is. He doesn't look real big on TV. He's all of 6'4", 245. And the thing about it is, he's a damn good athlete, and he's competitive as all get out. And a son of a bitch does not want to give in on a play, which can help Denver at times because he'll make a mistake. But otherwise, 3 out of 4 times, he's going to make a play 3 out of 4 times. And if it's not with his arm, it's with his legs.
I had a question. Go ahead,
who is he? Who is he? From the, Rob likes to go always the whole Dan Marino, Dan Marino. I mean, he's obviously a combination. He's got a lot of Fran Tarkington in him, and because he's very, very mobile. He's as mobile as Lamar Jackson. He's probably a little bit more accurate, but I do think that the comparison is a more accurate Lamar Jackson, and that's why the two of them are up for the MVP right now.
Yeah, but the thing is Lamar's exceptional at movement, exceptional. And that's why he does what he does. And he's getting better and better with accuracy and all that stuff. The thing about Josh Allen, he's just a guy's guy. Players want to play for him. Players want to be with him. Players want to succeed for him because he's just a dude. He's a dude,
He's a great leader. Yep. And I think that Bo Nix, let's stop, kissing up to the Bills. I think Bo Nix has got a lot of those qualities. A little younger.
Correct.
I think that, Joe Brady is a really good offense coordinator for the Bills, but, Sean Payton, some people say he's not a bad offense coordinator.
So,
correct.
I was going to ask CJ this, but he's out on assignment this week. But Scott, a lot of the guys, and you've drafted guys. We skipped over Josh Allen here in Denver, and now he gets a shot to take us out of the playoffs. Does he guys manufacture a grudge to be like, oh, this is a team that could have taken me, but they didn't?
You know what? I think so, to a point. A lot of them won't say it. But the thing, Denver didn't make a mistake. Now, looking back at it, hindsight's 20/20, of course. The same thing with me with Aaron Rodgers, 20/20 hindsight. But with Josh coming out, he was not accurate. I mean, he was like 58%. In a simple system with not much competition around him, playing in the Mountain West. And, I mean, he was all over the place with the ball, all over. In Buffalo, took the swing, and congratulations, they nailed it. But, people are like, no, I don't even want him. I mean, the guy can't complete a pass.
Isn't that?
But he's throwing in Wyoming, where it's always Sunday in Buffalo. It's always windy. It doesn't matter.
It's the same. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter, partner. If you're a football player, and Peter can tell you this because he's been around as long as I have.
I think he just called you old, Peter.
You cannot teach accuracy. You either have it or you don't have it.
Even in the wind, like it's like, okay, I got to adjust for the wind.
It's the same for everybody. Same for everybody. If you're both playing that day on the same day, you have the same climate. You have the same environment going on.
That's why, right? That's why Jim Kelly, he was accurate in the wind.
Correct.
And you sit there and say, well, gee, why can't everybody? Well, that goes to show you why it is difficult, and that's why Jim Kelly, used the Buffalo Magic. Now, wind's not a factor, but I do think you're right. Josh Allen's more accurate. But part of the thing with Josh Allen, and I think it goes to the difficulty in scouting, Scott, is he was playing in a really bad Wyoming team, and he was running for his life.
Sure.
That's fair.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But still, people were really nervous. And you can talk to anybody who was back then a GM or a personnel director or whatever, and they're like, accuracy. It wasn't the size. It wasn't the arm strength. It wasn't the athleticism. It wasn't the mobility. It was accuracy. I mean, even his pro day, he missed guys wide open. And it's on air. You can't do that. I've never seen it before in my life. I've been to a lot of quarterback workouts coming out of college, players coming out of college, and they're 58 for 60 or 65 for 67. He was probably 30 for 50, but he threw it hard. He's a great kid. He's a great kid.
So going back to the Broncos,
he threw it off in his pro day.
He did what?
He threw it off.
He did not get intercepted once at his pro day.
No, but he has some incompletions.
Did he throw it out of bounds? Because I hear if you throw it out of bounds, you can't get it picked off.
I was telling scouts to watch out. Here comes the ball.
Could you imagine? That would have been awesome.
It's a 15-yard out, and he's throwing 25 yards over his head.
So
But it was whistling though. I could hear it.
going back to the Broncos and what they have to do with what they can control. Are they going to be able to manufacture a running game, or is Bo Nix going to be all in one running back and quarterback? Is he got are we going to?
They need a running game. They need a run game no matter what.
Is it going to be running back? It's probably going to be running back by committee, like it's been all year.
Imagine.
But
in order for the Broncos to win, they need to shorten the game. Only way to shorten the game is you got to run the ball.
Correct.
You cannot ask Vance Joseph's defense to defend 85 plays.
Correct.
Yeah,
I guarantee you this. If you want to know who wins this game, just tell me how many plays on defense they play. If it's between 50 and 64, Broncos will win the game. Ooh. If you get to 65 to 70, it's probably overtime. You get over 70, and it's probably going to be the Bills.
50 to 64 defensive snaps. I'm writing this down, Peter. I want to remember this.
Well, that's
defensive snaps.
I didn't equivocate. I gave you the exact.
I know this is one of those times you actually give me a real number instead of like, Can
you do a prop bet on that?
I don't know. I am not sure.
Hey, Rob, you got to figure the more you keep the best player on the field, off the field, the better chance you have to succeed.
Yeah, ask the Nuggets about that with Jokic. So,
Jokic is not a bad player, right?
Yeah, I think he should stick with basketball. I think he has a career in that.
He's not going to play tight end because I've seen his foot quickness and his speed. It ain't going to happen. Not a chance.
Aaron Gordon's got too many calf issues now to jump on the Broncos football field for him. So
although you know what, he could play some tight end.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine if Aaron Gordon played tight end for the Broncos? Just throw it up 12 feet in the air, he'll go get it. Probably 14.
Well, you know Julius Peppers, he played for North Carolina.
Yeah,
basketball and football, of course, but yeah, he dominated. They couldn't stop him. He was too powerful.
Those basketball athletes are tough to stop.
Well, certain ones. Yeah. Not all of them.
Well, no, a lot of them aren't tough enough to play. Everybody wants to sit there and make something out of something or something, but a lot of them aren't tough enough. And
well, they're just not physical enough. They don't have that temperament.
Well, I tell my basketball guys, I go, hey, basketball's a contact sport. So if you don't like contact, you're not going to like basketball. But football's a collision sport. And so if you're not, there's a difference.
Yes.
On how to do it. So, did you guys watch the Notre Dame game against Penn State last night?
Of course.
Of course.
So, I was flattered. I was finally. I was worried in the first half that they weren't going to hit the over, and they hit the over in the second half. Thank goodness. So, Notre Dame, can they beat Texas or Ohio State?
Well, let's not even go to there. There's a game tonight, Rob.
Oh, I know.
I think before you go to can Notre Dame beat the game, let's talk about the game tonight, because I think that the college football really did a nice job. The Thursday night football, I'm sure the ratings were through the roof, probably 22 to 24 million. I think you'll probably even have a little higher tonight. It's a Friday night game, and if really, when you're talking about football, I mean, is there a better time of year right now than Thursday night college football semifinal, Friday night, and then we're talking about the Broncos on Sunday, but I'm pretty sure, and I'm just spitballing here, but I'm pretty sure we have a couple good games tomorrow too.
Oh, absolutely.
And Monday night.
And Monday night. So we have Chargers Texans tomorrow, Steelers Ravens tomorrow. Then on Sunday we got Broncos Bills, Packers Eagles, Commanders Bucks. And then we got a Monday night game that's been now has its own storyline because it's been changed from LA to Arizona. And each one of these games have incredible intrigue, including the game tonight. I think Ohio State, to me, when everybody's talking about Ohio State, lost to Michigan, and they were out, they were going to fire Coach Day and stuff. Now all of a sudden they're in the semifinal game. And so the question really is, was that a benefit to Ohio State to lose that game? Because then they didn't have to play in the Big Ten championship. And so instead of playing against Oregon, they get to go to the the BCS and sort of a softer game, boom, boom. And now they're sitting right. Which would you rather have, a Big Ten championship or a Natty championship?
Well, if you ask Buckeye fan, they would probably trade that to beat Michigan. If you talk to Buckeye fan, Buckeye fan's crazy. They're not. You're talking rationally, Peter. Buckeye fan is not rational.
No,
especially when it comes to the team up north.
I think Peter made a really good point because they needed that week off to regroup, and they put up, I think, 90 the last 2 games.
Oh yeah,
it's been ridiculous.
It was kind of weird that they didn't throw it to Jeremiah Smith against Michigan much.
Well, they didn't. It was an awful game. Awful because Michigan, not knocking them, but they're not a good team. Not this year.
They beat Alabama twice in 2024. So going to Ohio State, Jeremiah Smith, true freshman wide receiver. Where would he go in the draft, Scott, if he was draft eligible?
The thing about it is I'm because I've been through this many times with receivers. I'm not big on taking them in the top 10. Now, if all of a sudden you can look back and say it's Jerry Rice type guy or somebody like that, then I get it. But there's so many damn good players on the board. When you're taking a guy, he might touch the ball 10 times, maybe 12 times a game completely. You take tackle, he's playing 60, 70 plays a game. You take a quarterback, he's playing 60, 70 plays a game. They affect games completely different than wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a quarterback and you don't have an offensive line, you can't protect the quarterback, it doesn't matter who your receiver is. You throw them away. All you're doing, you give him reverses. You give him
Scott, he would be the first receiver off the board.
I don't know. That cat at Arizona is pretty freaking cool. But, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But he's on 1 year, You
want to see him dominate for more than 1 year.
Yes, of course. I want to see him have adversity. I want to see how he responds to adversity. I want to see him, get in trouble off the field and see how he responds because it's going to happen probably. And
he
is 18. That's typically what's going to happen.
Yeah, somewhere. Well, he got NILs. He's got money.
Yeah. Let's not cry for him. He's probably getting $4 or $5 million a year to go to college, which is 100%. almost as much as Scott got when he playing baseball at Wichita State.
I got free Pizza Hut pizzas. That's all I got.
Were they like the all meat specials though? Like were they like was it specialty pizza or was it just like a single topping?
No, I had my choice. It's either sausage or pepperoni.
Who do you guys got tonight then? Texas, Ohio State. Who you got? Peter?
I think it's going to be Ohio State, and I'm going to have a little bit different spin on it. I really think that right now, like you just saw that Jamal Carter just declared for the draft. Not a surprise, but I think that Texas, with all their players that are going to the NFL,
Abdul Carter.
You meant Abdul Carter. I meant Abdul Carter.
Like, who are you talking about?
Yeah. I'm telling you right now that the players right now, it's January 10th. The combine is in 50 days. And I think at some point, as much as they want to be talking about or thinking that they're going to, play for the national, they still would have another game. I don't think Ohio State doesn't have that many players that really are in that boat. Texas got many, many more. And I do think that factors in enough that they're gonna beat Texas.
How, Peter, you've helped a lot of guys train for the draft. How is training for the draft different than training for a football game?
Well, football game, you got to be in shape. No, I'm dead serious. Even Scott, with his limited Wichita State education, can count to. You run 240s, 4.4, 4.4. That's 8.8 seconds. You run one shuttle. That's another 4. That's 12.8 seconds. You run a 3-cone drill. That's 7 seconds. So you're talking about 20 seconds of competition as opposed to 70 plays. So for the combine, and we got a bunch of guys here in Denver already. It's all focused on speed and explosion. All right, speed and explosion.
The thing is, Rob, Peter teaches them how to cheat the drills and all that stuff. Them freaking agents are a piece of work.
Is it inside the rules of the drill?
I don't teach them how to do it. I show them.
I told my basketball guys, I'm going to teach you how to play fundamental basketball. When you learn how to play fundamental basketball, I'm going to teach you the dirty tricks. But the real secret is once you play fundamental basketball, people call you a dirty team. And so it kind of sounds like if it's inside the rules of the drill, it's inside.
The thing is, though, Rob, and Peter he'll speak to this because he's an honest guy. So many teams make mistakes by T-shirt and short workouts. It's all football. You got to have pads on. You got the ball underneath your arm. You got to be chasing the guy with the helmet on. That's a football player. It's not going to the combine. It's not going to the pro day. Like I said with Josh Allen, if you went off his pro day alone, he probably doesn't get drafted. I mean, it was pathetic. I've never seen anything like it. And I've been to probably 20, 30 quarterbacks workouts that gone in the first round in my career. And they're lights out. I mean, it's like it's all scripted. Boom, 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 boom. And Josh was like, holy smokes, this thing's everywhere. But then all of a sudden, the guy goes to the combine, and he's a wide receiver, and he runs 4.25.
And he gets drafted by the Raiders.
Now he's going in the first or second round. Yeah. And you watch the tape, you're like, absolutely not. Zero.
How much? So, like, if you put, like, a scale on the weight, of how much you watch film and film against, like, say, bigger games, bigger competition.
Yep.
And then, the draft combine, like, where would you weight it? Like you probably put 75% on like the game film, and most of that is on their top 3 or 4 competitor competition. How would you rate that?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I do 90% on tape. I don't care if it's a small school, big school. I don't care if it's early in the season, late in the season. I want to see the same kind of guy. I want to see consistency. Now, I'm different. A lot of people, I mean, there's certain teams that draft off combine numbers. And I was never that way. Now, it's good to know. Okay, so he ran fast. You put the tape on. Okay, well, if he's running 4.2, the guy just ran him down. What's he run 4.1? let's draft him.
The guy who chased him down.
Shit. I mean,
Rob, my perspective has changed because I'd always call Scott and say, Scott, can he run? And Scott really has an uncanny eye for being able to tell you from watching tape, this guy's a 4.45 guy. He can really do that. And the great scouts really have that ability. Now, is that as exact as a 40 time or stopwatch? No. But now what they have is these kids are all wearing these GPSs. So they're all wearing the monitors.
Oh, yeah.
So we can now say, okay, the schools will give you the GPS. The guys, 21 miles an hour. Now, of course, those numbers are a little skewed because, is that top end speed? Is that the best speed? Is that, acceleration speed? But it does give you ability to understand, okay, top end speed. So the 40 is not as critical as it used to be because a guy like Scott, he's got the stopwatch in his head. And if a guy goes to the combine and, runs a 4.4 or, 4.28, what you just said, but he plays like a 4.5, what do you want? The guy you're not getting the guy who ran at 4.28, you're getting the guy who plays at a 4.55. And then you got a guy, Scott's favorite is Anquan Bolden, who on a good day couldn't run under 4.8. But guess what? He did run he ran the same 40 times he did on the field. Jerry Rice was a 4.55 40 guy, but on the field, he was just a tenth of a second faster than the guy chasing him.
Yeah, the thing is, and Pierre, I told you this before, but Rob is I call competitive speed because Frank Gore couldn't run either. But I'll tell you what, that son of a bitch got out in the open. He wasn't letting no one catch him. He'd swerve back and forth. Don't get me wrong, he's watching the big screen in front of him while he's running. But I'm telling you, that's some competitive speed. I mean, it was.
It's a motivational factor. Like Scott, if we put you on a track and said, "Hey, run the best quarter mile you could," the 7 minutes later, if we go, "Hey, we're gonna have this. We're gonna have Peter chase you if he catches you. We're gonna, you're in trouble." It's like now all of a sudden you're like, "Whoa, hey, there's motivation instead of just running on a track." We used to use the joke. It's when people say, "Hey, I did my best," but it's like, was the motivation enough to push your best?
That's why a lot of guys I drafted out of the South were fast because they're running from the cops. They weren't getting caught, I promise you.
Well, could you imagine Scott being like the talent evaluator at like the police academy? Like,
well, that's
like
the same thing.
He's doing draft grades. I'm like, no, I wouldn't take this guy with Denver's first.
I'd have some big tough dudes. I promise you that.
We did have the
Size
same
matters.
Scott. We did have the same issue with the upstate guys.
Running from the cops.
Oh yeah.
Well, you gotta be fast, bud.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Why do you think me and Dave were so fast?
So, all right.
There's fast and there's sneaky fast, right? How you can run, but then how do you hide?
I'm telling you, it's called competitive speed. It's competitive speed.
With the motivations there. Tonight, Ohio State's favored by 6 points. Do you think it's going to be that close? It sounds like you guys are implying that Texas may have some guys that are going to maybe not play at 100% because they have motives.
No. Peter didn't mean that. I guarantee he did. With Sark, he'll have them ready to go. And it's a big game for Texas now. It's been a while for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with that alumni and those NILs and all that stuff coming through, and they need to win. But Ohio State's on a heater, bigger than life. You know, they got the cat from K-State, the quarterback, you know, who's playing really well.
Howard.
You know, yeah. And they got the young receiver playing really well. They got two backs that are both draftable. They're both going to be drafted. They got a tight end that's legit. And they got two offensive linemen that might go in the top 100.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you right now, like last night.
That's on offense.
Yeah. We had a walk-off field goal last night. I'm expecting a close game like that again tonight. Another walk-off, whatever.
I don't think so. I think Ohio State just rolls.
How much impact on the game will Matthew McConaughey play?
Zero.
Well, it all depends on. Well, I think it's gonna be an issue because the game's in Dallas. It's gonna be cold weather, and he won't be able to take his shirt off.
Oh, yeah.
He'll have his brown jacket on.
Yeah, but if he could bear his chest, they play better, and I think it's gonna be tough with the cold. Yeah,
no, I wonder if that's something you can bet on too. How many, either that or how many buttons will it be down?
Yeah, but I think that's a problem.
I think it'll be a heck of a game early on. I think Ohio State, with the amount of talent they have and the roster they have, will take over in the second half. Kind of similar as last night.
I was impressed last night where it felt like it was, what was it, 10-10 going at half?
No, it was less than that. It was like 17-3, wasn't it?
It was 10-3, I think it was. 10-3. Because then Notre Dame scored.
Notre Dame didn't even get off the bus in the first half.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think tonight will be the kind of similar. I think it'll be close early because so much emotions involved, and it's being played in Dallas. You know, all the Longhorn fans are going to show up and be ready to roll. It's a late game.
I do think that's quite an advantage that for whatever, I don't know how that worked out, how they got to play in Dallas.
Correct.
That's an advantage. Yeah.
Correct.
But I mean, really, like they sell like 50-50 of the tickets to the teams. Like every game like this we've seen, the stadium's pretty well split.
Yeah, but still, even the week leading up to it, the night before, the 2 nights before, you know, the Players Hotel, you know, you got Longhorn fans everywhere around there. Everywhere.
But Rob, right. But if you're of those 50-50 tickets, you have to lose your idealistic. You have to understand the reality. Probably about 40% of those to 50% are getting scalped. And so if I'm scalping a ticket, right?
How do you know that, Peter? You don't know that.
Okay, it could be 52%. I'm sorry. But
he doesn't. Hey, Peter. He remember the Wichita State thing. He doesn't know percentages. You're fine.
Oh, don't worry. I know about percentages and scalping. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was funny you say that. Though,
I learned from
like,
the best.
my Buckeye friends, because I grew up in Ohio, so I somehow know a lot of Buckeye fans, but they were joking a lot, like we're Tennessee helping pay for their trip to last week's game because they scalped their tickets to Tennessee to go pay for their next game.
But what I'm saying though is now if those tickets go on the market and they're costing, you know, I don't know, I'll look right now. What's it? Not StubHub, but Ticketmaster, right? Ticketmaster.com.
Why don't you just call Ornstein?
Yeah, right.
Tickets as low as $249, powered to Vivid Seats.
Right, but you see here's what happened though. If you're coming from Ohio, it's a plane ticket, an overpriced hotel room, and a mandatory 3 nights. So you're talking about, you know, that's not just the $500 or $1,000 for the ticket.
Correct.
You're talking about a $5,000 weekend. The Texas fans, they get in their pickup truck and they're there, and it's $249 and a 6-pack of corns.
That's fair. That's fair.
Well, and the thing about it too, Rob, that people don't really look at, a lot of these big time fans, they're thinking they're going to win. They're saving their money for the national championship.
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they're not going to pay for this one and then turn around and do another flight and do another hotel and do another, 3-4 tickets,
in
whatever
Atlanta.
it is.
Oh yeah,
it's New Orleans, isn't it? Is the champion?
Yeah.
No, it's Atlanta.
No, New Orleans.
They just played the game in New Orleans last week.
Yeah,
it rotates around the championship game.
Yeah, they're having in New Orleans, man, because they had that big killing or whatever, the truck thing, and they're like, the Sugar Bowl's going to go on as is, and the national championship will go on as is.
I'm telling you right now, I will bet you that the game's in Atlanta.
It is. I
Really?
just went on to ESPN. I thought it was in New Orleans.
We're week 19 of the NFL season. You're still doubting that everything I say is absolutely always right.
Boy, Scotty's going for employee of the month this month too.
I could have swore it was New Orleans. I
thought it was too. I was with. I would have lost money on it, Peter. I would have lost.
But so what Scott's saying is, if you think about Ohio State, their fans have already been to 2 games. This will be game 3.
Correct.
And if I'm sitting on a ticket and I could sell for $500-600, I got 4 of them. That's $2,000, and maybe I am saving it for Atlanta in 10 days. I'm gonna tell you right now, just like I think that 40 to 52% of the tickets have been scalped, I think that the ratio in that stadium tonight is going to be at least 67 to 68% Texas.
Correct.
Wow. Yeah, no, I could see. I guess I could see that. I
totally agree with you. Agree with you. It might even be more, to tell you the truth.
Right. So let's get. All right. So now that we've worn out let's go. I'm just excited about for NFL football. I really am. I think we have legitimately great games all weekend, and it starts
okay. We'll
tomorrow.
start with the first one Saturday at 2:30. Chargers going to the Texans. Chargers are actually favored by 3. Who you got, Scott?
Chargers. I trust the coach, and Stroud's having a kind of little slump. He'll be fine. He'll get out of it. But I don't see with the prototypical NFL coach who's been there, done it. I don't see it in Houston. I see it, big time with LA Chargers.
What if the Texans all-pro running back goes off for like 200 yards on the ground?
I hope he does for our little buddy we're talking to.
Well, only 200.
I'm just saying on the ground. I'm sure there'll be some passing yards too.
Yeah, I think Houston's had a nice little run, and they're getting better. It's like Denver now. Denver's getting better, but I think they're running to a buzzsaw.
Yeah,
Herbert's due.
I'd like to see the Chargers win that game. Peter, are you allowed to comment on this game?
It's a free country. I'm commenting whatever, at least for another 10 days, and then who knows what happens? Who knows what happens when the inauguration? For the next 10 days, it's a free country.
Hey, you know what Scott's going to do in 10 days is turn up his thermostat to 63.
No, absolutely not.
He's going to feel the freedom. He's going to be like, oh yeah,
I got my jacket, better. Man, I'm good.
Turn it up to 63.
Scott's moving to Canada, the 51st state.
Yeah.
So I believe this. I do think that in watching the Texans, and obviously I watch a little probably closer than most people because of Joe Mixon, is that if C.J. Stroud starts realizing that he is Herbert or Josh Allen and starts running. The last couple games that he played, he thinks he wants to go back there and be Tom Brady. His legs are just as strong and just as, he's just as athletic as Josh Allen. And if he runs a lot and moves out of that pocket, I think that they can be a real issue for the Chargers. Chargers don't have a deep team, but they do have a coach that's creating a team that plays their philosophy. They're going to play hard, pound the ball, pound the ball, pound the ball. If the Texans can stop the run and establish the run both with Joe and with CJ, I think they can compete and they can win. It's going to be a heck of a game.
Absolutely. I'm leaning towards the Chargers because I want to see the Chargers play the Broncos in the AFC Championship, which is, again, a Disney story more than reality, but I think it'd be fun. But you know what? If the Texans win, I wouldn't be disappointed at all. I think the fun one on Saturday is you got Tomlin and the Steelers against Lamar and the Ravens. And Tomlin has done well against Lamar better than most. Who do you guys have? Steelers or Ravens? It's Baltimore's favored by just 9.5.
Just 9.5?
Just 9.5. Who you got, Scott?
Ravens, hands down. I think that quarterback is on a heater, and he is playing incredible. You can keep him in the pocket, he can beat you. You let him out of the pocket, he can beat you. And the guy never gets phased now. He'll throw some balls. You're like, what in the world's going on? Then all of a sudden the game's over, and he's 25 for 33. And it's like 3 touchdowns and 1 rushing. It's like, holy smokes, he made some bad throws, but son of a gun, and it would shock me, honestly, if he's not the league MVP. I think the only reason he wouldn't be is because he's won it twice.
Voter fatigue.
Yep.
All right. Well, 2 things. One, the Texas game is in Houston, so that's a home game in the dome, weather not factor. Okay.
Correct.
Steelers, Ravens in Baltimore. It's supposed to start snowing about 11 o'clock tonight. It's going to be 33 degrees and snowing tomorrow. Now, that doesn't, they're both, Northeast teams, but I do think the worst conditions do favor the Steelers because they're, more of a pound and run and defensive team, and they would be able to slow down Lamar. But, so I do think that the weather will help the Steelers keep the game close.
I think the odds makers got it right. They see a butt kicking coming on.
I'm rooting for the Steelers just because I like chaos and the underdogs winning. That's my only thing. I'm a big fan of Lamar Jackson. I think he's due for a playoff run that everyone says he's always there. They have a playoff jinx for whatever reason to not do well.
Because he hasn't played well, but
I don't think that's a jinx. I think it's
But I'm telling you, this year is a different year. I mean, what he's putting in numbers, he's doing stuff that's never been done before, ever. Touchdowns. He has 4 picks, and all 4 were tip balls.
Yeah, all catchable balls, right?
Yeah. Shit. Think about that. He's got 45 touchdowns or whatever it is, 48.
41 touchdowns, 4 picks, 4,100 yards, almost 4,200 yards throwing.
Look at his running. It's incredible.
Scott, the Syracuse quarterback just declared for the draft.
Oh, he's the former Buckeye. He's the former Buckeye.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good player. He had a nice year.
Oh, yeah.
Do players declare for the draft and then get their agent, or do they get their agent and then declare for the draft?
The only reason they publicly declare for the draft is because the agent wants the publicity. That means he's had the agent for a while.
Okay. I think somebody's saying that from background.
That's why I asked. He's the super agent. That's why I'm trying to figure it out. Hey, going to Saturday, we've talked about the Broncos and the Bills. Buffalo's favored by 9. Scott, are the odds makers right on this one?
I hope not. And I don't have, a hammer in either one of them when I'm pulling for or whatever. I pull for Denver because I like the head coach. I like the GM a lot. I like a couple of the coaches, the D coordinator and the linebacker coach. But Buffalo, I think, is a good football team. And again, going to, West New York and just the whole environment, it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one. Now, if Bo can stay in there and keep it close and possibly win, that'll be a hell of a job by him. Sean will have him prepared. I promise you that. Sean will have him ready to go. But it's going to be tough. I mean, rookie quarterback's rookie quarterback. In playoffs, it's a different animal. I mean, it's totally different than the regular season.
I have my friend Sean texting me. He goes, the Broncos are going to win. Just calling it now. He's calling his shot.
I don't think it's a 9-point spread, but certainly the Bills are favored because of Josh Allen. I do think it's going to be a good game, though.
Hey, speaking of the Broncos and Sean, and there's another Sean, the head coach, Sean Payton. For a joke a while back, I put one of the coaches I knew on my phone as Sean Payton, just as a joke, just because I thought it was funny because he's a good coach. So I'm like, I'm going to put him in as Sean Payton. So I have a client meeting in the office the other week. My phone's out on the desk. I forgot it was out there. And the coach calls me. All of a sudden, it's Sean Payton on my caller ID coming up. And you can see the side eye of the guy looking at me. And I go, I just take my phone. I mute it. I'm like, I'll call him back later.
He can wait.
I'm like, you're more important right now, client, not Sean Payton. So
Well, that's funny as an agent, because I use my iPad when I'm coaching high school sports, and the texts come up on my iPad, and there have been times when Sean Payton has actually called.
So yeah, no, mine's a false Sean Payton. Mine's not real. Like a few coaches I know, I don't put them in by their real names because it's more fun. Like I have one as Harvey Specter because he's a really good coach.
That's right. I tell.
Hey, Peter, what about the time you're coaching lacrosse and the federal judge calls you?
True. It's a true story. I'm coaching at South High School where I coach, where my son played, and Scott got sued by Daniel Snyder.
Well,
just a little background. There was a lawsuit because there was an allegation that Scott and/or his now ex-wife had leaked to a website in India, and I don't mean like Indiana. I mean the country of India. That Daniel Snyder was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and Daniel Snyder thought it was Scott that leaked this information to a website in India. So they sued
Did you
Scott.
search history or something on your browser, or what do you have, Scott?
No.
So that's right. So they sued Daniel Snyder sued Scott to get Discovery to get his browser history and his email histories to see if he actually. I mean, you got to understand. You've looked at him. He wouldn't. He doesn't even know where India is.
I know it's east.
Well, it's a globe. It could be east or west. Okay,
right, correct. That's my point. And so, because it was during COVID, and we were at practice because we were outdoors, the judge had a hearing at 2:00 when I was at practice, and we
federal
actually had
judge, Rob,
a federal judge, federal district court. I actually did the whole hearing from practice, and it was funny because I coached at South, our big rivals, East High School. The judge's kids went to East High School.
That's awesome.
Hey, so he's on speaker and he's coaching while he's talking to the judge, and he's got 3 attorneys for Dan Schneider trying to get after my ex about information. And it's 5 minutes into it. Peter had the guy laughing, the judge. He's like, "You guys aren't getting nothing. We're good."
Judge,
and then Peter kept talking lacrosse.
100% rule in our favor. We're gone, and there are $1,000 an hour New York lawyers left with their tail between their asses.
Beyond.
I'm going to change Peter's name in my phone to now Harvey Specter. Let's go. We got the new Harvey Specter. So moving on. That's a great story, though. That's awesome. Packers and Eagles, Sunday afternoon, 2:30 on Fox. Phillies favored by 5.5. The weather is 39 degrees and sunny.
The game of the week.
That's an interesting one.
As long as the quarterback's right. You know,
he's right. He cleared protocol today.
Yeah, but still, all it takes is one more hit, you know. I mean, that stuff comes back. You know, you saw Tua, what happened to him.
Scott,
if he stays healthy, it'll be a good game. If he stays healthy. But if not, if he's out, they're done. The Eagles are done.
Yep. They're not winning with Pickett.
No.
Nope.
So with what you know today, who you got?
I'm going Philly because apparently he cleared the protocol, but it wasn't until yesterday afternoon he cleared, which is scary.
I'm Philly too. Yeah, I think it's going to be a game of the week. I really do. It's be a close one. Could be high scoring. Definitely going to be exciting. And yeah, game of the week.
I believe the Packers are the other 7th seed in the NFC, so I'm kind of rooting for the 7 seeds just because let's kind of change history here a little bit.
Well, understand this now. The reason they're the 7th seed is because they played in the same division with Detroit and Minnesota. All right.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing arguably the 2 top teams in the NFC, and you played them 4 times.
They're a really good 7th seed. That's what it is. And so that's I think they can go into Philly and take care of business. But you know, I just like chaos. I like the underdogs winning, and I don't have any fanship to Philadelphia outside of watching the Silver Lining playbook. So
I'll tell you this, Rob. Anybody that makes the playoffs is a good football team. You're playing.
Speaking of
17
other
games,
teams
you're
that
playing
made the
17 games now. I mean, that takes legit stuff to get in the playoffs.
other teams that made the playoffs, the Commanders and the Buccaneers, good teams that made the playoffs.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm out of this one, Peter. You take it over.
Interesting game because I think that the Buccaneers have been up and down all year. I mean, you do not take that to Vegas. Do not bet on that because you don't never know what team's showing up. All right,
Mhm.
and they look one week like the Super Bowl champions, the other week they look like the first pick in the draft team. So you can't do that. And then with Washington, I really believe that they've overachieved all year. They're playing much better than the roster, and most of that, or a lot of that, is a coefficient of the quarterback, which was an interesting scout to me and his Scott because the quarterback, had a huge grade. What scared you was the frailty of his build. He took his shirt off, and he looked like 150 pounds, like one of your high school basketball players.
Good.
And yet he's been able to show this year that he's been durable, and there's no doubt he's been a playmaker.
Potentially rookie of the year. So
No,
Speeder,
he's the rookie of the year.
It's already done.
Yeah, he's the rookie of the year.
so who you got, Peter?
I am going to
You be nice, bud.
vote with my heart over my head. I'm taking Tampa Bay.
Let's go. So did I. Let's go. Tampa Bay. Rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs, I don't have a lot of faith in one.
Correct.
But there's a Baker Mayfield effect. Baker does play big games pretty well, and there's something fun to root for Baker because of I was going to ask you guys here throughout the shows, like sort of the quarterback rehab is kind of a thing now between Baker and Darnold. You got some guys that are. It's an interesting situation here with them. So it's like I love it. I root for the guy that had some struggles and came back. They got the constant underdog, and that's Baker Mayfield.
Well, the thing is, Rob, if you look at all those players we're talking about, either Darnold or Mayfield, whoever, they're first-round picks for a reason because of talent.
No. He was the first pick for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah, but the system, the coaches, and the players around them matter just as much. But there's a reason
I kind
why
of miss
these
his
guys.
insurance commercials too.
But there's a reason why these guys are first-round picks. I mean, people aren't just throwing darts at the board saying, no, they see talent. They see abilities, they're unique, and sometimes it takes to get to the right system. Look at Darnold. I mean, son of a gun. He gets to O'Connell, and he's a total different player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, total different player.
Well, he's got a team around him compared to the Jets.
Correct. But that's what I'm saying. It's not just the individual. It's the sum of the parts. Big time.
Right. But what Scott is saying, a guy like Baker Mayfield, you take him at number one because the qualities that Scott is talking about are not just intangibles. You're talking about arm strength and accuracy, athletic ability, the things that do make a difference. And Baker Mayfield was picked number one for a reason. And then he does have a little bit of a Brett Favre swagger to him.
Correct.
No, I can see. I'm rooting for the Bucks. They are the 3-point favorite with the Commanders coming to them. It's 56 degrees and cloudy in overcast, but.
Well, you got to figure the 3 points is just home field advantage. You get three automatically, So they're calling it even across the board, which I think will be a hell of a game.
No, I think that's actually gonna be the fun one to watch along with the Broncos because those are the two rookie quarterbacks playing in the playoffs.
Yep.
So it'll be a lot of fun. Going to Monday night, the game moved due to the wildfires to Arizona. Vikings versus the Rams. Who you guys got? Minnesota's favored by 3.
You want to go, Peter? You want me to go?
I don't even think this one's close. I think the Vikings are going to roll.
I agree.
Really? Who's the better quarterback? Sam Darnold or Matt Stafford?
Stafford's a better career quarterback, but he's on his downslide now. Darnold coming off a bad loss, and with those two receivers he has, and that tight end he has, and that old line they have, I think Minnesota goes in and rolls. And I love McVay, and he'll have them ready to play, and he'll have the offense ready to go. But I think Minnesota's a pretty damn good team.
I'd agree. Once again, it's hard to say when the home team's the underdog, but
But it's not a home game anymore.
I'd like the Rams to win. That's all.
You can laugh
I don't have
whatever you
anything
want.
against
You got to be realistic, though.
I'm not. I'm a fan, Scott. I'm the fan representation here. I am not realistic. Okay, let's just be real.
You probably win more than me and Peter do because we have too much into it and we think too much and overthink it.
Right. So, hey, speaking of overthinking stuff and Minnesota, I wanted to ask you guys this because this is an interesting question going into the almost off season here. You got Sam Darnold. Do they keep him and sign him to a big deal? And what do they do with J.J. McCarthy? Because it is a weak quarterback draft. If J.J. McCarthy was coming out this year, Scott, where would he land on the draft board?
He's just one of the guys. I'm not a big J.J. fan at all. No, I shouldn't say at all. Where he went is where he should have went. I don't think he's anything special. He might have a chance to be like a Hasselback down the line. You cannot let Darnold out of that building. You cannot. You cannot. You got one, you keep him. Because the grass isn't always greener. You get the next one, you're like, okay, well, we drafted him in the first. We got to make him the starter. Then all of a sudden you win 4 games next year, 6 games.
Hey, you're drafting for a team this year that needs a quarterback. You have, let's say, the 5th overall pick. Sanders is on the board somehow, and J.J. McCarthy's on the board. Or you can trade that pick straight up to Minnesota for J.J. McCarthy. What do you do?
Well, let's get back to Minnesota first. So what Scott said. So you understand this, that most teams that have veteran quarterbacks have a quarterback room where between $50 to $60 million of your cap is invested. Whether it's in Joe Burrow at $50 million or Trevor Lawrence at $50 million or, whatever. Most of them are between 50 and 55 for the top level. Baker Mayfield, he's at the 35, Cousins was at, 40, whatever. So in Minnesota, the franchise tag number for quarterbacks can be $39 million. J.J. McCarthy's on the 2nd year of his rookie deal. So he's counting, I think, maybe $3 million on the cap.
And you already paid the signing bonus, you know what I'm saying?
You've already paid the signing bonus, so there's no cash there. So you're talking about $42 million quarterback room with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy's coming off a knee. And so at a minimum, you're going to franchise Sam Darnold. Now, does that preclude a team from calling up and say, I want to give you 2 ones and then doing a long-term deal with Darnold? No. You're going to control his rights. And at that point, you can trade Sam Darnold. And even though Scott's sitting there saying, I'm not a J.J. McCarthy fan, you tell Scott you want the heat up in his apartment. You tell him you give him 2 first-round draft choices, Scott will move the heat up to 67.
That might be. He may move it to 65. I don't think he's a 67 guy.
But so therefore,
maybe 77. Give me 2 ones.
2 ones. I'm telling you, 2 ones. These GMs are going crazy. So at a minimum, they're going to franchise them, and then they're going to see how it plays out. And you have them for 39 this year, and technically, you even have them for 47 next year under the franchise tag, if you wanted to go year to year on them. Without
Hey, Peter, let me ask you this, okay? Being the agent, say he was with me, okay, and I came to you 2 weeks ago and said, listen, we want to do an extension or whatever, a re-signing, whatever. Wouldn't you probably say, we're going to sit tight because we're going to go to free agency and we'll give you guys first right, but we're going to check the market? Because somebody will pay.
Right, but then I'm just telling you, then they're going to franchise him, and boom. I would tell you this right now, knowing what this young man has been through, and that includes, being traded and all that other stuff. I would not want him leaving Minnesota because I don't want to take the risk that this is all about,
But wouldn't you want the guaranteed money with the extension?
Right, but so what happens? You go 2-year deal. All of a sudden, you look at Kirk Cousins, right? Kirk Cousins was up in Minnesota the last how many years? Kevin O'Connell's up there. He's putting record numbers. He goes to Atlanta, and he's back to. I mean, his career's right now in the tubes.
Sure.
Now, Stafford. I mean, Kirk's made a ton of money, whatever, and he's set for life.
Of course.
Darnold's been done all right, and he, you would hope to get a nice payday. But are you willing to trade that payday for the fact that he could just go somewhere else and get exposed?
Because
it's pretty Kevin O'Connell is the quarterback whisperer right now.
Say it's not Minnesota. Say it's a different team. Say it's an average team, and he has the year he had, and the GM calls you and says, "Listen, I want to do an extension. I'm going to do a 3-year. I want to guarantee this much money. And if not, then I'm going to franchise him. What are you going to tell me?
Well, yeah, that's checkmate. Right.
Well, so what's Peter? You've been spot on with Garrett Bowles and his contract. We're curious about Brock Purdy's contract coming up. What would you expect Minnesota? We know with the franchise tag, it's going to be $39 million, so it's probably somewhere around there on an annual salary for him. What would be a deal where you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to take this to my client and we're going to have a serious talk? What's the contract going to look like?
Brock Purdy in San Francisco?
We're talking about Sam Darnold with Minnesota. What's a contract where you're like, hey, this is something we're going to have a serious talk about?
Well, I think
what's it got to look like?
If they can get over 40 APY, obviously you're shooting for 50 APY, and you're trying to get 120 million guaranteed over the next 3 years.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if someone's going to do that. That's a hell of a swing.
It's not a good quarterback crop this year, buddy. You know that.
That's right, but
not just in college, even in free agency.
Oh yeah, right.
So like if Scott and I are we're working with the front office there in Minnesota, and we go, Peter, hey, we're going to put together a 3-year $100 million guarantee, but if you with a $120 million contract, all the whatever incentives, is that something you're going? Yeah, okay, let's take a serious look at it. You're going, hey guys, you got some of the numbers wrong on something happened on the PDF when you sent over.
I think anytime you're talking about $120 million guaranteed, you owe it to your client to explore that, because you're talking about life-altering money, and that's our job. My job is not to make him necessarily the highest paid. My job is to make sure that he's set for life.
First of all, Rob, when we call him, we're saying you are going to do this. We don't say we are going to ask you. You're doing this.
You take the position of authority.
Oh, 100%. Peter knows.
So you're looking like that. You said the 48, over 3, the average over 3 years. Where's Brock Purdy sit after us, this year?
Well, Brock Purdy's got another year left on his contract at maybe like $2 million, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, because he's on a rookie contract. So then the question becomes with that is, you look at some of his games and you think he's a $60 million a year player. You look at some of the more recent games and he's not exactly a $60 million a year player.
Correct.
And so that's actually as interesting as Sam Darnold. Where does that fall? Because it could be anywhere.
But thing is, Peter, let me ask you this real quick then while we're doing this live. Say I give him a low ball deal and give him another 4 years, 3 to 4 years, and not go into his last year of free agency or going in where we could franchise him. Would you take a low ball deal knowing the way he played at the end of the season? How bad he was?
No, I think really the risk, and I know we got to wrap it up here because we're after 1 o'clock, but the risk for a player is always twofold: one, poor performance, and 2, injury. Okay, poor performance is something he's been dealing with. Injury for quarterback, I'm not really not going to ever as worried as with a running back or receiver or whatever.
Sure.
And so I would think that if you want to play hardball, it's hard to hold out this year because he still is under contract. So the fines would be
correct.
Exorbitant. But next year, when he's out of contract and they franchise him, then you'll have to just fuck it. You ain't seeing him until September.
No.
And are you willing as a team?
But if you knew you had a player that was declining, in your opinion,
you take the money and you take the money and just like we're doing here, I'm out of here.
Hey, I want to put my aluminum foil hat on for the last minute here to ask you guys a question. To see, once again, more fantasy football rumors than you sign Brock Purdy to a big deal. You got to save some money somewhere. What's the chances of Christian McCaffrey coming to Denver? Are we talking about a percentage here? Is it a possible, or am I just sort of, am I just being a fan?
Being a fan.
Oh.
He's their best player. He's their best offensive weapon, hands down.
When healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, how much fun would that be to get Christian McCaffrey here?
And then he could blow his Achilles out and miss the whole year again.
Yeah. No,
hey, Debbie Downer, wet blanket, Scott.
I'm just
No,
being
That cold's
honest.
going to your brain.
I'm just being honest.
When healthy, he's a fantastic player.
Yes,
All right, Rob,
he's really
let's
good.
get ready for some football.
Let's
All right,
go.
guys.
Have some fun,
Later.
guys. Great
Bye.
talking to you as always.
Yeah. Peace.